Music. It's not just part of our daily lives, it's part of our wrestling fandom as well, and it has been for decades. That's where this show comes in. Music of the Mat, the podcast devoted exclusively to the music of pro wrestling, hosted by Andrew Rich. Hey, that's me. Each episode delivers a different topic with a variety of great guests, fun conversations, musical analysis, and of course, a heartfelt pun or two. New episodes drop every other Tuesday on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcast app of choice. Check out Music of the Mat only on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.
Cheering at pro wrestling shows in Japan is back, and 2023 is already shaping up to be a big year in the history of pro res. That's why you should listen to the Emerald Flow Show. From the Royal Road to the Green Mat, Paul and Gerard take you into the world of All Japan Pro Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Noah. Not only do we analyze events, but we examine business, who is getting over, what angles are working or not. Occasionally, we take a look at other Japanese promotions like DDT and Zero One. So if you're looking for more coverage of the world of Japanese wrestling, check out the Emerald Flow Show on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network, available on all of your favorite podcast apps.
That was our old music.
Hey now, yeah. Oh, I hit the wrong one. Hey now, it's the Mike and JD show. Actually, you know what? Let's give respect to A Game. We got two people. Everybody, I want everybody to listen to our intro song. I want to give respect to A Game by our boy God Illa. All right, let's hit A Game really quick.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A-game. A-made, no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This isn't A-game, better bring your A-game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A-game. A-made, no rain from the track when we...
All right, yeah, I hit the wrong damn button. That's we're starting off hot today. You know, we actually went like a couple of minutes early, which is weird. We don't really do that. But hey, now it's the Mike and JD show, and I'm your host Mike Gilbert, and I'm joined as always by JD by God Oliva. How you doing, JD?
If we ever started the show right ever, I would be amazed. Hey, we had a couple viewers ready to go, and they're gone. So whatever.
Yeah.
Let's just do the show.
Yeah. Well, yeah. They bailed on us. That's pretty funny. So man, quick programming note. Hey, before we get started, I just want to announce that next week I will not be here. I will not be on the show. I am traveling for work. I'll be on the East Coast doing something. And so JD will have a co-host, although I'll have my laptop with me and I'll be in a hotel. I just don't know which hotel I'm staying at. I don't know the Wi-Fi situation. I don't know any of that stuff. And I don't know my schedule. So typical day in the military, but I got a trip planned next week. So I'm leaving on Monday and I won't be getting back probably till like the following Monday or Tuesday. So I will be out of pocket for a little bit, but I'll have my laptop with me and hopefully I can lay down some audio for the Patreon on my own. And so JD will have a guest host. And also, if you're watching this on the Voices of Wrestling YouTube, go ahead and give us a big thumbs up, throw down a comment, subscribe to the channel, and then head over to our Patreon. Go to patreon.com/the Mike and JD show, where we have tons of content every single week for you. But JD, man, how is everything going for you in your neck of the woods?
Good, man. Busy this week. A lot of stuff going on with school, wrestling practice, preseason wrestling practice is underway. Busy, just busy this time of year. You know, gets kind of crazy.
Yeah, man, it's super busy. It's super busy for all of us, I think. It's been a busy day in the world of pro wrestling, bro. I got up at about 4:50 a.m. and I had a personal text from you. I had another personal text from my buddy Matt Tristo. And then I had 37 messages from a group chat that I'm in.
Sorry.
With JD and John Muse. And I'm like, and I haven't even had coffee yet. And I'm like, I don't even know if I want to look at these messages yet. So I start making my coffee and JD was like, man, you really need to check Twitter. And so the first big story that we got to get into is It's one of the biggest stories in the history of wrestling, and I'll explain to you why. But we got breaking news.
Breaking news.
What we're breaking? What's going on?
Well, it was broken earlier today. I just really wanted to hit the button. I know it was broken about 13 hours ago.
Broken about 12 hours ago. Mister, I live in Hawaii, and I'm always back like everybody else. Yeah. Okay.
I know everybody is alive and well and awake and getting all the news, and I'm just sound asleep, haven't even had my coffee yet. And WWE Smackdown is leaving the Fox network, and they are heading to USA Network for a reportedly. What's up?
Whoa. As first reported by the Mike and JD show by one BJ Bethel of SE Scoops, we were called crazy when we posted that. We had a guy on our feed who said, "I'm gonna bookmark this," and Mike, God, I wish you screenshotted your own tweet today because you are the most petty dude I know, and I love you for it. Mike felt the need to call out a guy who told us we were wrong when we were right. So we had that information long before everybody else did. So I'm very proud of us for being right for a change.
Yeah. Well, we actually know some guys who do real journalism, and BJ Bethel is one of those guys. He's been around a long time. He's got sources in all the companies and even with some of the networks. And he had a source within Fox that had told him that Fox really was not happy with what they were getting. They're not the return on investment. I think that a lot of people will see SmackDown's uptick in ratings lately as proof that Fox should keep them, but not at that price.
No.
Fox has hit shows after hit shows. They got the NFL, they got Major League Baseball. They don't need SmackDown Live, and SmackDown Live really never elevated Fox's stock, so Fox didn't feel the need to overpay them for the product anymore. So, and BJ reported that on our show 4 months ago. He said that this was most likely going to happen.
Yep. They got a 40% increase to return to the USA Network, right? So someone trying to break this down. I mean, like, okay, let's be real. The stock market did not like the deal for lots of reasons. We can talk about that.
Yes.
But they got a 40% increase. If you're just looking at simple dollars and cents, you win. That's a good thing for them. It's probably less than I think a lot of people were expecting. I mean, it's 40%. Like, for SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what's crazy is the Hollywood Reporter seems to be of the mind that Raw and NXT will be leaving the USA Network. There's some people push back on that later because these are two separate deals. Raw and NXT are one package, SmackDown is another package. So it still is. There's differing opinions on whether Raw and NXT would return to USA or whether they will move on. So I'm not sure where that is right now.
So I was under the impression that Raw was flat out. Raw and NXT were done on USA, but I did not know that there was differing.
No, that was what the original post said. But then there was scuttlebutt later in the day from a different source. I forget who off the top of my head said that that USA, that NBC Universal was still the top contenders to retain Raw and NXT. So
wow,
I don't know. I don't know where that stands right now.
That's pretty crazy. Because I really went into the show thinking that Raw was gone, and that was where I was like, this is one of the most historic days in wrestling history because SmackDown has been on several different networks, including USA, but Raw has been on two. They've been on USA and the national network, aka Spike TV, which is now Paramount Network. So they were there for a cup of coffee, I think, 4 or 5 years, something like that. I think they got there in like 2001 and left in about 2005. I think that's when TNA went to Spike. I'm ballparking it here, so feel free to fact check me on that, people.
I think you're right. I think it was 2001 to 2004 or 2001 to 2005, something like that.
I think it was 2001 to 2005 because 2005 is when TNA went to Spike.
Yeah.
And so I'm that's a ballpark figure. So again, if you're in the chat or if you're watching this and you see this later on Twitter, just hit me up and tell me the truth. But so they were there for a cup of coffee and then they've been back on USA. So they've been on USA for the better part of 30 years.
Whoa.
Since 1993.
No.
Well, before Raw, I'm saying Raw has.
Raw. But remember, in the Raw time slot, Primetime Wrestling was there from 1987 to 1993.
And then WWE was on USA in the earlier 80s, right?
In
Because they took
84,
over
for Southwest. So
Yeah.
All American premieres on the USA Network in the fall of 1983. So just as we're about to start the expansion, the big national expansion, that's when Vince kind of snags that spot out from Joe Blanchard. So they had All American. All American did pretty good ratings on Sunday mornings, and then a very short time later, they had TNT, not the TNT Network, but Tuesday Night Titans. Right. So that is, for some of our younger fans, Tuesday Night Titans was wrestling mixed with the Tonight Show. But imagine instead of like Jimmy Fallon or back then Johnny Carson, it's Vince and Lord Alfred Hayes interviewing wrestlers Tonight Show style. It's fucking weird to go back and look at that as like a modern fan.
Yeah. And it was, I think, some people look back on it with rose-colored glasses, but I've watched it whenever I first got the network because I missed that whole era. And it was bad.
It's not good.
It was really bad.
There's a reason why the format doesn't make it past 86. Like 86 is the year where Vince McMahon and Titan kind of refigure what TV is going to look like for the WWF, and that's when Championship becomes Superstars and All Star becomes Challenge, right? And then Prime Time becomes like the major cable show Monday nights. But then, All American was there for quite a while until it died. I want to say 96, 97, something like that.
Yeah. Shout out to Steven Butler. Raw as War premiered on TNN on September 25, 2000.
2000.
Lasted for 5 years. Yeah. So they were on for 5 years. I do know that TNA came on right around that same time. I think it would have been like August or something like that. But that's pretty crazy.
I thought there was more time between Raw leaving and Impact premiering. I guess not.
I think it was kind of a bang bang deal because you remember, the national network, aka Spike TV, they wanted wrestling so bad that the first promotion they brought in was ECW in 1999. Mm-hmm. And ECW was pretty like low budget, low rent type of stuff. And then there's like, you know what? We like this. It's doing good ratings. Let's go all in with WWE. And they actually gave them a rights fee, which pro wrestling wasn't really getting those in those days. So they gave them a rights fee, and that's kind of what started this whole thing. Mm-hmm. And then USA didn't want to match it because I was like, who the hell is going to pay for wrestling? Well, it turns out USA will be paying for wrestling for the next almost 20 years.
Barry Diller called US when Raw left, right, the first time in 2000, apparently. Barry Diller looked back and called the fans mean-spirited booger eaters.
He might be right about some of those people in the Manhattan Center.
I didn't say he was wrong. That's what he called them. Told it like it is, man.
Yeah. Have you checked Twitter today? There's a lot of mean-spirited motherfuckers on Twitter right now.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. We have a new bit coming with just that in mind. So the idea that Raw could be off the USA Network is wild. Like, this deal is going to be good for them. Not only does NBC Universal get SmackDown back from Fox, who let's be frank, didn't really want it. So that's another reason why it's not seen as a win. Like, sure, they're getting a 4% increase, but they're also seen as Fox kind of went, we don't want this anymore. So that's not good. But they're also going to give them 4 yearly specials. So they're going to get the NBC, WWE is going to get their own Battle of the Belts. So I'm hoping this means we get a return to Saturday Night's Main Event. Because there's I think there's probably some nostalgia from guys our age for that, right?
I enjoyed Saturday Night's Main Event. It was one of my favorite shows as a kid, and I enjoyed the various reboots that they've done in the last couple of decades. I always really enjoyed those shows. But yeah, so we got SmackDown leaving Fox, which was first reported on this show 4 months ago as a possibility. And it's now official. WWE sent out the press release. They're getting a 40% increase. They're looking at $1.4 billion just for SmackDown. That's a huge deal. And now, as we've already reported as we've already been talking about, Raw and NXT could be leaving USA. That is now up in the air. I honestly, as I hit record, I was under the impression that they were leaving. So we will pump the brakes on saying that they are leaving. They're leaving USA. They could be. If they leave, I'm going to be curious as to where they go. And the network. So Go ahead, JD, because I have thoughts of networks that they won't go to.
Let's recklessly speculate the possibilities here. And which is what we do on this show. King of the North says weekly check-in to make sure y'all are keeping JD out of trouble. Thanks, man. I appreciate your concern for whether or not I am in fact in trouble. I wonder if that's my wife. Reckless speculation on what's going on. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna pick my own random kind of outside, maybe not so outside the box, but what I think might happen. I think this could be Amazon.
You know what? So Triple H and Jeff Bezos were seen in public together, hanging out. I just got done watching the San Francisco 49ers put a beat down on the New York Football Giants. Brock Purdy threw 2 touchdowns, threw for over 300 yards. As I was leaving, there was still like 6-7 minutes left in the game, so he could have thrown another touchdown. I don't know. And that was all on Amazon Prime. Picture quality, perfect. I could pause and rewind, which you can't really do on most streaming apps when you're watching live sports, when you're watching football, unless it's like ESPN Plus. So, you had that. They spent a ton of money to get those rights. They're looking to spend, and Amazon is the largest, most richest company in the world. You know what? I could see it, but there is something to be said here. Now, JD, you've always been pointing back to Peacock getting the pay-per-views of WWE as a big part of the boom in their popularity, and I do agree with you there. There's several factors. That's one of the major factors. That's absolutely true. Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, absolutely true. Cody coming over, absolutely true. I think coming out of the pandemic and being on Fox was a big part of WWE's rise in popularity because it's easily accessible and it's the most watched show in their company. And so now they're going to take more money. They're going to get less viewership by going back to USA for SmackDown. And it's going to decrease even more going back to Amazon Prime because the NFL can get 13 million viewers on Thursday night. I do not think that WWE can get that many viewers on a Monday night if they were to go to Amazon Prime.
No, I agree with you on that. I think that's the big thing with Fox offered WWE that no one else can. That's the NFL, right? Is they were able to advertise. You're able to advertise your product to the biggest fan base in the world, which is the National Football League, right? Yeah. It was a perfect marriage for WWE. Maybe not so much for Fox because WWE never came close to hitting the numbers that they promised Fox. Right, like I know people are hamper on Dynamite on like, oh, their first show drew X. Well, the first SmackDown on Fox got 4 million viewers, and they never even came close to approaching that again.
I think for a Christmas episode right after an NFL game, they got it with Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens in a steel cage, coming in hot. That was a couple years ago, and they have not done it since then. But that was NFL lead. That was an NFL lead-in though that helped them get over that hump.
Yeah, it was a big, and they never came close to it again. Right, which tells you that it was the NFL leading because people, it was a Christmas game, right?
Yeah. It was either Christmas or Christmas Eve, something like that. Yeah.
So they leave. So a lot of times people leave the TV on. That's what happens with those things, right? And that skews. That's why every time you get an overrun for a wrestling show, right, and there's a 5-minute overrun, for a fact they're chasing ratings, which NXT and AEW did this week to their benefit, by the way. All wrestling companies should do the overrun because people change channels at the top of the hour, right? To this day. So you're still going to get a little artificial uptick that's going to boost you up a little bit, right? Boost you up a little bit. Yeah. So I think Amazon Prime is a legit source. I've also heard potential of like FX.
Well, right? So that's the thing that I wanted to get into because FX is owned by Disney now. And there's been talks of Disney getting in on the WWE rights deal. But if they do bring them over, do you think that Disney is going to want to put a show on FX across from Monday Night Football, which airs on ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN Plus, and now ABC? I don't think so. So if they did go to that family of networks, we're looking at possibly moving Monday Night Raw off of Monday, which would be another historical thing. And you know damn well that if they move off of Monday, they come into Wednesday. That's exactly where they're going. They're not going to Tuesday. They're going to Wednesday.
Here's why I think Disney is not a player for this anymore. Big news coming out is that Disney is in talks right now to sell ABC to Nexstar.
I saw that. That's a huge story that nobody's really talking about.
That's a massive story. If you're talking, because you're talking about Disney selling off one of their major assets, and that's the American Broadcast Company, right? ABC was the number 3 network back in the day. When I say number 3, I mean it's the 3rd network. Like CBS was the first network that was started. NBC was the national broadcast company, Red and Blue. They had 2 separate channels right after Dumont died. And what became NBC Blue, what was NBC Blue, became ABC. That's why their names are so similar. So ABC has been like one of the big 3 networks since its inception in the early 50s. Disney's owned it, I want to say, since the mid 80s. So the fact that they're looking to sell it is game-changing stuff. The next 2 years are going to completely redefine the television landscape. Completely.
Yes.
And with Disney and ESPN looking to create a la carte services, it sure seems like they're looking to get out of the cable game altogether and out of the traditional broadcast game. So I think Disney is something that might have been at play, but now what are they going to do with it if they sell ABC? I mean, for FX1, I don't see it, man. I don't see that being a possibility.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, oh man, that's going to be a hard sell. NBC Universal could just put it on NBC. I think that's still a possibility, as you said, because the rights deals are separate. Here's an off the wall one. AEW's TV rights negotiation is coming up, and WWE's at the same time. They've been linked to Turner in the past. WWE. What if they go to Turner? I think I don't see it. But I also don't think it's like a it's not that far fetched. You know what I mean?
I don't think that happens, mainly because I do think I think it has not been disclosed because it doesn't have to be publicly disclosed, but I think Turner is a part owner in AEW. I've said that on this show.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that Turner owns at least a piece of All Elite Wrestling. And if WWE, I think they would like to have, I think Turner would not mind being a wrestling hub, right? It kind of goes back to the company DNA. They've had success with Dynamite. I'm sure they would like to say, hey, we got AEW and WWE. The problem is WWE is going to want exclusivity.
Yeah.
So I don't see Turner ditching their significantly cheaper, like WWE gets 5 times the money AEW does, and they deliver half the ratings. They're a steal for the network, right? Like AEW is I know people don't want to hear this, but AEW is a financial steal for the Turner Network. Even if they get their rights, even if they get the anticipated rights, boom, right? Everyone kept talking about this $1 billion deal for the entire AEW package. WWE is probably going to wind up with like $3.5 billion for their entire TV package. So you're talking more than 3 times, right? For half the ratings. It's still a steal.
Yeah.
It's still a steal.
Yeah. Turner is likely to get the AEW like entire thing, including pay-per-views, which we'll get into in a minute, for a good round figure of $1 billion. That's the number that we've been talking about for months here on the show. That was reported by several outlets, and then it got pulled back. Lots of stuff going on, but you're talking about Dynamite, Collision, and Rampage, 3 in 1, plus monthly pay-per-views. AEW is going monthly now, going to HBO Max in some form or fashion, whether it be pay-per-view or part of the subscription service. Let's go ahead and get into that, and then we're going to talk about the. Go ahead.
I didn't even include WWE's pay-per-view money that they get from Peacock, PLE money that they get from Peacock, right? Yeah. WWE is making just hand over fist money in all this. So, stock's taking a beating today, but it'll recover. Like, that's what makes AEW such a tremendous deal for the Turner networks. And if I could see TKO saying, well, if you want us, you got to drop AEW. And I think it's just too good a deal for Turner to walk away from. Right. I think saying, oh yeah, WWE is interested is more of a Nick Khan kick the tires thing, try to get more investors. But I'm wondering, before we wrap up, I'm wondering how many people are really interested in this if SmackDown just goes back to USA. And I think that's why the stock plummeted today, because I think that the idea that all these suitors, and they said, oh, some surprise suitors are in there too. Like I'm wondering if it wasn't quite what we were sold.
I agree. And there were probably several conversations with several networks happening. And when they saw the price, they went, LOL. Right. It's the old Court Bauer scene outside of Viacom headquarters. Right. So, hey, what are you doing here, Court? Would you like to do a TV deal? No. Right. Like that kind of thing. I get the feeling they talked with all the major partners because Nick Khan is
He's a
probably
player.
the greatest hire in WWE history.
Yeah.
The guy has made them so much money. He's undoubtedly one of the most important figures in the history of wrestling, at least in the absolutely in the last 20 years. Like if AEW gets $1 billion TV deal, Nick Khan, the money that he has generated for WWE is driving up money for the other networks too, to be able to spend a little bit on them. So,
Nick Khan, second most important hire in the history of the company behind Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, absolutely. No, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we also heard last week, it was Andrew Zarian was talking about it, that HBO Max is going to be adding live sports and that AEW would be a part of that. Well, we got the announcement that Max, formerly known as HBO Max, is adding live sports, and they listed off a bunch of sports in the Turner Network. They did not say AEW. So it could be either that AEW is still listed under as entertainment, which I think is valid. I think that's what Chris Zellner was saying, and he's a smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're still working that deal out to get it done because the contract isn't up yet. They still have time to negotiate those rights deals.
I've also heard speculation the deal is done, but they're going to wait till the contract is expired before rolling into the next one, which makes sense too. Like, and again, it's they're probably still figuring out the pay-per-view aspect, because those pay-per-view rights aren't necessarily tied to the media TV rights. That would be a separate deal. So hopefully that one, for if you're an AEW fan, hopefully that $1 billion deal is just for TV, and they get a secondary deal for their, I guess they'd be PLEs now too, not pay-per-views. Hopefully,
well,
I don't know.
It depends on if they're just put on a pay-per-view tier. If Max adds a pay-per-view portion to it and then starts selling it, like if they go the ESPN model, which is kind of what we were talking about last week, like they could do the Peacock version, or they could do the ESPN Plus version. Right now, the ESPN Plus model has been far more successful for ESPN Plus than, say, the Peacock version has been for Peacock. So
for Peacock, not for WWE.
For Peacock. It's been hugely successful for WWE. It has not been great for Peacock because they're losing money hand over fist, while ESPN Plus is fucking printing money with that UFC deal. They underpaid UFC for what they're getting.
For sure. Here's the problem. We talked about this last week. AEW is not a hot enough company to ask that, because the Max, it's going to be $20 now for the live sports tier of Max, right?
Yeah.
It was $10 until February. That's going to boost up. So it's $20 to have the sports tier. Based on that, I do not think that these will be more expensive pay-per-views. I do think that the pay-per-views will be included because they're asking for more. It's more than Peacock. Peacock, you can get it for $5, right? If you're willing to sit through some commercials. This will be $20 and you get the pay-per-views. Like, I don't see that.
Yeah.
I don't, because they need to get people in, right? Max is in this phase where we talked about it last week. They're shedding subscribers. AEW can be a way to you retain some subscriber base, because they're still in the market of trying to keep their subs on.
Yeah. And I think this move with HBO Max and bringing in, I guess, Bleacher Report Sports, which I think they just Max, like, they just one name, guys. Come on, Bleacher Report is not an important name in sports. It really is not. It was a fun blog for a while. It was a fun blog for a while, but it shit ended 10 years ago. It is not that popular. But so they're bringing in all these, like, they're going to bring in the NCAA tournament, right? March Madness. They're going to bring in baseball, do some basketball stuff. This is their version of adding in more cord cutters, because a lot of these things are already going to be live on Turner properties. You're just going to be able to watch them live on Max. You're also going to get some exclusive stuff as well, but you're going to get those live sports that are already on the cable tiers, right? And that's like the big thing. Like, ESPN Plus has already said that they're going to be adding the live linear ESPN channels to that platform at an extra cost. I think that's Max doing the same thing.
Could be, but the problem is, again, ESPN has that brand awareness, right? ESPN can charge more for a premium. Max Sports is not a thing. BR Bleacher Report does not have a good quality name in the sports field. Like, it doesn't. Like, it's not a trusted sports name. They're playing by different rules right now. Right.
Yeah.
I don't think that Max can get in the game and expect to get the same type of results that ESPN is, or Peacock, with that, for that matter.
You know who was a trusted name in sports that people would pay hand over fist money for to watch them on pay-per-view was fucking HBO. And they cut that name out of it. I spent a lot of money on boxing pay-per-views back in the day. And I used to love watching Inside the NFL on HBO. Love all their documentaries. Loved all their HBO sports. That was a home run brand, and they got rid of it for whatever reason.
Well, the problem is, we talked about this too. When you have a merger, one company will become the dominant player in the merger.
Yeah.
We're seeing that with TKO and WWE. It seems that UFC is going to become the dominant brand because we had a culling of office work because a lot of those people were redundant by who had already been working there for the UFC. So the corporate cultures kind of take over. What happened when Warner Discovery came together is the Discovery's end of it. David Zaslav, coming from the Discovery side, values their brand. And they thought that their mind is that HBO is too highbrow. And if you're marketing, the base of your network is Dr. Pimple Popper, maybe you're right.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Yeah.
Maybe
Do
that is
Dr.
it.
Pimple Popper fans like HBO content? Do they like The Sopranos?
Yeah,
do they like Game of Thrones? Probably not.
Probably not. They're not watching.
Probably not.
Those things.
Hey, before we get to the next topic, I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out Drew. What's up, Drew? And shout out Sean's View Entertainment. Thank you for being here, my brother. Shout out Dobby the Brain Heaton, my man, Patreon subscriber. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you. So shout out all the homies in the chat right now. Thank you. And if you're not a subscriber, head over to patreon.com/the Mike and JD show and check out our premium content. We're going to be, JD and I are going to be recording another podcast tonight, right after the show is over. That's going to be, overtime. That'll be airing over the weekend. Plus I will be back with Brace for Impact this weekend, where I'll be reviewing Impact 1000 Part 2, not episode 1001. It's a 2-part episode that they put over 2 weeks to keep that branding off, to keep the branding going. I love it. Carnies, man, they're the best. And I will be talking about potential Impact signings coming up because 90 days away is right around Hard to Kill time. So I'm going to be talking about that. Plus, Will Ospreay's match was just announced. It's going to be Will Ospreay versus Speedball Mike Bailey at Bound for Glory in Chicago. JD, you going? Do you think you're going to go?
Guess who's going to go back to an Impact show this year?
Yeah.
How am I going to miss?
Double.
How are you going to miss it? How are you going to miss Will Ospreay in an arena like in Chicago Stadium? It's a small, intimate venue. You get right up close. There's not a bad seat in the house. And you get to see the greatest wrestler in the world right now.
Right. And then he has great chemistry with Speedball, and I think they're going to fucking tear it down. And then in the main event, they just announced, and I'm going to talk about it this week on Brace for Impact. Head over to patreon.com/the Mike and JD show. Is going to be Alex Shelley versus Josh Alexander for the world title in the main event. I don't think that's a hell of a 1-2 punch. Probably one of the better 1-2 punches in the history of Impact. But so shout out to everybody in the chat. Head over to our YouTube channel, YouTube, The Mike and JD Show. We have a very special guest on right now. I was going to wait and talk to him about some Joshi talk, but I see him sitting there. He's got his hair all slicked over. He's got his microphone ready. He's ready to fight, man. He's ready to come in here and talk with us. Let's talk about these mass layoffs with Scott E. Wrestling, man. Come on in, Scott.
Hello, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hello. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to read the list of the releases, and then I just want you guys to pick a name from the list and tell me who Tony Khan should sign. So let me hit that list because the list is extensive. Okay. First up, we got Mustafa Ali. Then we got Emma Lena, who is Tennille Dashwood. We got Rick Boogs. He's the guitar guy. Aaliyah, who must have some dirt on WWE because that lady's been there for 10 years. I've never seen a goddamn match of hers. Elias Sampson.
75 matches. 75 matches in the company. So when did the match?
75.
Over a decade.
She was. Yes. Why, dude, I remember her from the Battleground NXT documentary, which was a very good show, by the way. And that was when I was deployed in Afghanistan in 2016, and she still ain't been on TV. So Elias Sampson, which no surprise there. AJ Top Dollar Francis, he got shit canned. Riddick Moss, he joins his lady friend there, Emma. Shelton Benjamin, big time legend in my eyes. Dolph Ziggler, former world heavyweight champion. Quincy Elliott from NXT. Bryson Montana, never fucking heard of this guy. Dana Brooke, I saw that one coming. Mace, not from the 90s hip hop with Puff Daddy. This is a different Mace. Mansoor, Mace's tag team partner. Shanky, Dabakato, Ulissa Leon, no fucking clue who that is. Daniel MacArthur, no idea who that is. Kevin Ventura Cortez, not related to Jesse Ventura. Alexis Gray and Brooklyn Barlow. Nothing on that one either. All right, guys. I said all the names. JD, actually, Scott E., you're the guest. I'll let you go first. From that list, give me a name that you think could go to AEW that Tony Khan should sign, and then just give me a name that you have like high hopes for on the indie scene.
All right. I think Tony Khan should bring in Shelton Benjamin.
Okay.
I think that's a great veteran for either AEW or Ring of Honor. I think we have to remember that is technically in play. You know, Eddie Kingston's world champion. So until he's not,
stay tuned for that because JD and I have some takes on that one later. But go ahead.
Well, yeah, it's not a promotion that really exists, but either that or I want Shelton to go back to Japan. That's about where I'm at.
Noah, baby. Hey, he's a spring chicken for Noah. He's like a rookie over there.
Yeah. He's got another good decade plus of a Noah run left in him.
Yeah, that's true. And what was the other question? Just someone I think that'll do well?
And just somebody that you just see high hopes for on the indie scene. So you think Shelton should go to AEW or Noah, and then just somebody you got high hopes for on the indie scene.
I think Ali's gonna do great.
Yeah. Good deal. JD, what say you, sir?
I think Ali's going to AEW for one reason alone. His biggest advocate in WWE was Bryan Danielson.
Yeah.
And Tony Khan trusts Bryan Danielson, as he'll tell you any chance he gets. I think he's willing to give Bryan his kidneys if necessary. I could see. I think because we know the Bucks, right? They're gonna want that match with the Nemeth brothers on a Dynamite. I don't think they're gonna sign Nick Nemeth, the Kent State Flash himself. But there's a part of me that just. I don't know. I don't like that guy. There's a part of me that does not see that goes back a long time. There's a part I do not see a world in which we don't have a match with the Bucks and the Nemeth brothers on Dynamite. I just don't see that not being happening.
Oh, that sounds gross.
Yeah.
But and then it also sounds very possible.
Oh, it's gonna happen. It's gonna. I mean, I don't think they're gonna sign him because I don't think Dolph Ziggler likes wrestling all that much anymore. This is not a dude who's super motivated to go kill it on the indies. 10 years ago, maybe things are different, but he's 43, and he's made good money. So, and he thinks he's a stand-up comic. So I could see him trying to go all in on being a stand-up comic and doing whatever. I'll be honest with you. Of these guys that got released, it sounds like Riddick Moss is doing the most talking. About he's doing he's the guy that's going, this isn't the last you've heard of me, and then we never hear from him again.
I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but
Mansoor
and Mace are on Twitch just unleashing stories right now.
Really? No. What's
any juicy ones? Any juicies?
I don't know if this one's true, but one of them said Matt Riddle beat up Gunther.
Well, that doesn't have to be true. I can believe that, though. Matt Riddle was.
Yeah, I know, but everyone's like, "Oh, I don't know if I can respect Gunther anymore." I'm like, "Oh, that's tough."
Matt Riddle was on a 4-fight winning streak in the UFC when he got cut because he kept testing positive for smoking pot. He is a legitimate fighter. Okay, right. Gunther pretends to fight. Matt Riddle did it for real.
This is the problem with wrestling fans is they think that because of someone's gimmick makes them who they are. And I think Gunther's awesome too. But when your gimmick is you beat the living shit out of everybody, people are going to assume you can actually beat the living shit out of people. Matt Riddle actually beats the living shit out of people. So I'm not surprised at all to hear that. In fact, I'd be just as a guy in the clique, as an amateur wrestling guy, I would be disappointed if Matt Riddle couldn't. Continue, Scott.
Mansoor.
You guys want a quick trivia about Matt Riddle before we move on?
Yes.
Guess who he beat in high school? Guess who he defeated in high school?
John Jones.
John Jones. Yeah, little known fact. He beat John Jones in high school in wrestling. Go ahead, Scott.
Mansoor admitted that he never wrestled on NXT because part of the Saudi Arabia deal, he couldn't lose.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, I saw that one coming.
That explains why they don't use him very often because how do you book a guy who can't lose, who's the king of his country may kill you?
Yeah, and it's not like he looks like an unbeatable guy. He looks like a normal dude.
Looks like a dude.
Hey, Go ahead, Scott. You got any more juicy ones from Mason Mansour?
They just shared like funny stories about like Sammy being annoying, and they just pretty much said a lot. They said Vince liked them, loved maximum male models. Vince was nice. I was like, all right, that's the way to keep your job.
Yeah.
If they ever want to bring it back, way to do.
Yeah, to your face, Vince is great.
Yeah, that's the story. Oh, Vince loved me. It was Pat Patterson or Gerald Briscoe or Bruce Pritchard or whoever, JR. Insert whoever has the hatchet guy job that had the problem with me. Vince is great to everybody to their face.
Yeah. All right, guys. I will give you who I think AEW should sign. Not a single one of these motherfuckers.
I agree with
Nobody. No, but not honestly. Like Dolph Ziggler, I liked him 10 years ago. I was a fan of his title chase. I don't think he's done anything interesting since then. I think Ali is a good wrestler, and they have tons of good wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
They have lots of guys that can do cool moves and kickouts, and he's just another one of those guys. I don't fucking care. If they sign him or they don't, I don't care. He's Tony Nese to me. He's just another guy on the show. I do know that Bryan Danielson is a big fan of him, and that's fine. I just don't think you'll never get your return on investment from him. No matter how much you pay him, it'll be too
how
much.
are you going to push? How are you going to push a guy that WWE has defined down for so long and has told you is not important? And if he comes on your show and starts winning, doesn't that reinforce the idea that you're a minor league promotion? I think he should go to Impact.
I think Ali should go on an indie run and rebuild himself. And if he wants to do some dates with Impact, do them. Dates with MLW, go ahead, do it. Go to Japan. I think just working dates.
Come on.
I think he should do. I think every person on that list should look at the Matt Cardona. The Matt Cardona template is exactly how you should do it. Reinvent your character. Work everywhere, elevate every company you've been to, and do it that way. Look at Drew McIntyre is another one. Cody Rhodes is another one.
Cody Rhodes,
look at what Cody whenever he got released from WWE. And I'm going to throw another couple names out there, and I'll show my Impact bias. Steve Maclin is a guy that was in a dead tag team, and he came to Impact, and he completely rebranded himself. Right? He was completely different than like No Way Jose, who came to Impact as No Way. Right. And then Big Con got fired. And then 3 years later shows up in Impact. He goes from Connor to Big Con. Right. They chop off half their names and then they walk around as formerly known as motherfuckers. Nobody cares about you. Go away. Right. But if you want to bet on yourself, if you want to believe in yourself, reinvent yourself and get out there and fucking hustle, then you have my attention. I think all of these cats should have to go do that, with exceptions of Shelton Benjamin. I think is a legendary figure in my opinion. I just happen to be a big fan of his. If people picked him up, I wouldn't be a problem. Everybody else, you got to go and prove to me that you can eat, that you can go and get yours, that you still have what it takes, that you got the hustle in you. Because I haven't seen it from a lot of these WWE releases, specifically with the blue chip athletes that coming into NXT that really didn't come through that independent system. You don't see it with those cats, and a lot of these people are just like that. And then a guy that I have high hopes for. Sorry,
not
go
all,
ahead.
not
go ahead,
all
Jenny.
those.
Not all. I said
athletes.
a lot of. I said a lot of. Not everybody.
Those Creed brothers are kicking tremendous amounts of ass down there.
No, I'm talking about the people that got released today. I'm talking about the people that got released today are blue chip guys that didn't really have passion for pro wrestling. Right, 100%. Got paid to train. Yeah. The guy that I think that I could see going out there, and aside from Ali, which I think we all can agree on that he's great. That could go out there and reinvent himself and maybe do something, it would be Riddick Moss. That guy's a hell of an athlete. He's got some cool moves. Like, that's big on the independent scene. And I just think that he is a big wrestling fan, and I could see him going out there and doing the hustle. And I'm happy to be wrong in this situation. I just see that in him based on some of the things he said recently, some of the interviews he's done in the past. I just think that he might have that in him.
So he showed more personality on Twitter today than I ever saw from WWE. So if he can channel that a little bit, because he's got a big body, right? On the indies, he's going to be a monster. Maybe I don't think anybody knows how good he really is, right? I wouldn't, if I'm AEW, I keep my distance from that guy. If I'm Impact, I kick the tires on him. I want to see that guy go to Warrior, right? A place where he can completely cut loose, and let's see what he really has. Put him in there with Brian Cage. Here's a hot take for you. Brian Cage, one of the hardest working motherfuckers in the game. That guy's
Yes.
everywhere, working his ass off all the time. I know it's cool. Brian Cage sucks. I could be an internet wrestling fan. Like, Brian Cage is everywhere. If everyone in the AEW locker room had Brian Cage's work ethic, the things would be a lot better for them. So let's put him in there at Warrior Wrestling in Chicago with Brian Cage, and let's see what Riddick Moss really has. That's what I think.
Yeah, same here. Go ahead, Scott.
Oh no, I was gonna say Riddick Moss feels like a perfect Impact like trial guy, kind of like Steve Macklin was.
Oh yeah. But so the real reason why we brought Scott on here, he actually DM'd me. He's like, "Hey man, am I getting bumped again?" Because last time he came on, CM Punk I think got fired or some shit. So
yeah, something
we have
big
like, hey man, we got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to talk about. But I think we were all expecting Mercedes Moné to be at Grand Slam. And then the day before the show, I think the three of us got word that she's still hurt. She's in a walking boot. So what is Mercedes Moné's status? And she's pretty much locked into AEW, right?
I think so. I think. Well, from last time I knew, she had a contract with New Japan still. Like, I don't think that's just gone away. I think New Japan was part. Like they helped her out with the trip to London and all that for All In. I think that was kind of like a mutual thing. But in the end, like, AEW's where she's gonna go. You don't show her on the screen at your biggest show ever just for her not to pretty much be locked in. Because that match with Saraya, that's something that I think both of them want because of why Saraya had to retire originally, right? It was a match between those two, and things just went south, and people blamed Mercedes for that, which Saraya has since said no. But I think, to me, AEW is the place. But this is my feeling about her going to AEW. You have to change a lot in that women's division, the structure, if you bring in Mercedes Moné, because the fact is, she's going to be paid like top 5 in that company if she's signing. And she's not going to be 5, like she's going to be up there paid.
3,
if you're paid
2,
yeah, exactly.
right
I don't know
there,
who the highest paid is, but she's going to be very much at the top. And if
Christian
you're
Cage.
paying, that'd be awesome.
I would love that. Outworked everyone. So sorry about that. Sorry.
But if you're bringing her in, that means you have to give her TV time. That means you have to give her match time. You have to pretty much put her at the center of everything. And that means you have to change everything the way you've handled the women's division for, 4 years now?
4 years and change.
4 years and change. Listen, Jade left. Jade's going to a place that I think she'll be just fine. I think we all agree on that. And they're bringing in, supposedly, a few people to help this division, but it starts with Mercedes. If you have her, you got to change everything.
So I think that's interesting because Britt and Stat popped a number for Collision.
They did.
Going against, like, you're not going to find tougher competition, except maybe this week when we get Notre Dame and Ohio State. But I mean, they pulled a good number with their main event. So I think there might be some things in the weeds. You say other people coming in. What are you hearing?
What you got anything for us? Should I hit the breaking news button? What are we thinking?
Hit the button.
Hold on. I want to see if he's actually going to drop the scoop. You want to give me a nod there, Scotty?
I mean, I think Mariah May's on her way. I'm
okay.
saying I think she's on her way.
Okay. Well, that rumor's been out there. That's not really breaking news. That rumor's been out there a little bit, but
it's not breaking news.
But you've been talking up Mariah May for a long time. Guys, I wish I had this tweet. It's just reminded me of the funniest fucking thing I saw on Twitter. Somebody was talking about Mariah May coming into AEW, and like somebody questions like, does she even speak English? Because she's coming in from Japan.
There's some dumb motherfuckers on Twitter, man. Mariah May. Ooh, that sounds like someone from Japan.
Yeah. So when Barry Diller says that they're mean-spirited booger eaters, he's probably talking about that guy who thought that she couldn't speak English.
I love Jesus Christ.
So I've gotten to watch some of Mariah May's stuff lately, man, and she's tremendous. And if it is true that AEW hired her, that's a home run hire, in my opinion.
Yeah, so she's hinting at the 30th being her last day. She's very heavily, like, her most recent tweet that I saw was like, this is a very big day for me, and you'll all know why soon. It's like, Okay, well, I think we
Yeah.
know, but we don't know. I think we are going to see her in October in AEW. The more I've heard enough from different spots that they're all coming together that it's imminent. It's ASAP that she's going to go there. And I just can't get away from the fact that she's going to be there. And if that's the case, this is someone you build around. She is someone who has had 70% of her matches this year in Stardom. She's had 94 as a member of Stardom this year, and she had like 50 before walking into the company or something, because she started her career during COVID or before COVID. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
And
how old is she? How old is she?
She's 25.
Oh my God.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
She's a kid.
Okay.
And she's got an amazing. I've never watched her wrestle. I never watched her wrestle, but I've seen on Twitter the look. I get why you have a conversation, because she looks like a star, right? If she's got the game to back it up, and they've got some good workers now. It's not like the women's division of a couple years ago, where it's like, what do you got? I mean, Toni Storm has really found a character, right, that I think can really help keep her over. Like, she's reinvented herself.
Tremendous character, by the way. Yeah, it's fantastic.
phenomenal. Yeah. We were in fun fantasy booking her last night with some ridiculousness. Just completely stupid shit. So I think, but that's important. Like, say what you want. Like, I know some fans are not gonna like this, but character really matters in US pro wrestling. It just does. Like, just being a good worker isn't enough, especially in the AEW women's division, where it's so easy to get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
So you need that. So again, I'm all for this. You get Mercedes Moné, and you get this Mariah May, who I'm curious about. Maybe things change.
I'll say this, and I said this on my podcast that I recorded like an hour.
Throw a plug out there, brother. Plug it.
5-Star Joshi Show on the Fight Game Media Patreon. You could go listen to that.
Yes,
but
sir.
I said this specifically on that podcast, and I truthfully think Wrestle Dream could even be when you see her. Truthfully, if she's able to get on a plane right after the 5-star final, that's as early as you could see her. But I said this, and this is what I firmly believe. If she stayed in Stardom a few more months, she'd probably be the most like can't miss women's prospect any American company could get. But honestly, she already is. Like, that was me saying more, and that's me being selfish. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think she already is. She has the character, she has the charisma, and she has the in-ring. Something that I don't think everyone has, that full combination. She is the full package. She's got the look. She calls herself the foreign ace. She got the confidence. Foreign ace will still work here, actually, because she's from England.
From England.
Yeah, so she can still call herself that. And I will say this: she's better leaving Stardom than Toni Storm was leaving Stardom. And when Toni Storm left Stardom, she had been a world champion in Stardom.
Yeah. Wow. And I think that she's got a little bit of everything. And then just being Joshi trained, I think that American promotions should really start latching on to these English-speaking wrestlers that have gone over there on excursion to Japan. Because if you take a look at Toni Storm, megastar, Masha Slamovich, big time, right? She's awesome. And then now you got Mariah May, and I'm sure there's a whole host of others. I had a couple other Jamie Hayter, absolutely. I had a couple other questions for you, Scott. The first one is Kyrie saying, what is her status? I heard that she signed with WWE, but we have not seen her. And now WWE just shit-canned everybody.
Yeah, they did. She's finishing up on the 9th. She's having her last Stardom match, and then she's going on a indefinite hiatus. She's going to WWE, but she's finishing up her date. Yeah, I think she's locked in, just like Nia was, just like who else signed? I thought someone else signed. I don't know. WWE's weird company.
Carlito.
Carlito.
Authors of Pain.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think she'll be back. I'm guessing maybe end of October, or they save her for the Rumble. I could see that too.
Okay. And hold on. John Muse just popped in the chat. John Muse said, yeah, she's there. Like, she's he would know. John says that she's on her way. JD, you got a question for Scotty?
I do. We got a Hayu. Hayu, is that this? Hi, Ruth. She's got a question here saying, did you watch the Sukaban show? Am I pronouncing that right?
And
I
what the
saw
hell
some
is that,
clips.
by the way?
What is Sukaban?
What
And is it in fact a front for organized crime operations?
You're not the first person to ask me that, unfortunately. So I saw a few clips of it. I didn't watch it because I can't watch a wrestling show on TikTok, which is where they live streamed their first show.
What a terrible idea. Continue.
So what it looks like to me is a mix of Joshi, Glow, and Lucha Underground, because it has an anime aspect to it. I don't know if either of you saw the clips.
No.
Yeah. But
JD left the show.
leaving.
JD quit the show.
Yeah.
I'm out. I've lost interest. Already.
Yeah. So like a lot of people that like follow Joshi, they're like, well, this is built for someone else. And I was like, I don't know who it's built for, because like the Glow aspect alone has me all thrown off.
So I've heard a rumor that this is basically just going to be content for Crunchyroll.
Yeah, I heard that yesterday too.
I
it was in that same group chat. Yeah.
So the reason they aired the TikTok on the TikTok, whatever it was, I think they just wanted to get the first show out there, and they didn't have anything else. They have over 17,000 followers or something on there, and they've had videos that have been viewed like 2 million times or something. So to them, that was probably like, all right, let's try this out. I think they are putting together a show eventually, but I thought they were going to do like full on tapings tonight. They did 5 matches. Like that's not enough for like a batch of tapings to make a show. So unless they do one per thing, like they do this full anime story leading up to each match. But yeah, it's something for someone.
Didn't they fly all this talent in? Like there was no American talent in the show.
They flew every talent in.
That's a lot of money,
including multiple that work for Stardom. So
and their contracts just allowed that, huh?
Most of them are freelancers that work for.
I gotcha. Yeah, well, because Stardom talent, they did pop up on Lucha Underground. I think Asuka, she was Kana back then, but she was on Lucha Underground, right?
Io was on there, Kairi and Mayu.
They were the
okay.
What were they called? Black Lotus. Yeah, the Black Lotus Triad. That's what it was. Yeah.
Pentagon like broke Io's arm or something.
That's good shit, dude. I know people shit on Lucha Underground, but that first season was entertaining as hell, man. It wasn't great pro wrestling. It was entertaining.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the first season of Lucha Underground. I don't hate on Lucha Underground. The first season anyway. Then when you get into the second season, now we're like, okay, that's not very, very not good stuff there.
It was like Heroes. It fell apart in the second season. That's
Yeah. Hey, Scott, what's Julia's status? Because I thought she was going to become an all-time legendary Impact knockout, but that never happened.
Whoa! Hey, hold on. let's not do that. Her status is her status is she's waiting for Mercedes Moné. That's her status. I think everyone's just waiting for Mercedes Moné, and we're just all in a waiting period until she shows up, which is a very weird situation. But that's still the match.
I mean, she's hurt, so that's tough.
Yeah, it's very tough. Willow wasn't supposed to be champion, of course. So getting it to Julia, and Julia's just having all these like random defenses. She's coming back to New Japan's Fighting Spirit Unleashed in Las Vegas in October, so she'll have a defense there. I thought that was going to be against like one of the CML people, but they announced one single match for them. But yeah, she's not going to be an Impact legend, so I'm sorry to upset you.
Dude,
but she had a great reaction.
When she was on Multiverse 2 and they brought her out in the States, that place exploded for her. Like she was just a mega star. Now I had seen some of her matches in Japan. I get my hands on Stardom stuff every now and then. And so I kind of knew she was really good. But you never really know how someone's going to resonate when they come into this. Like, you never know how American fans are going to treat somebody. Because I could see a big star in Japan come over here and it'd be crickets. But for her in the 2300 arena, and it was a very much a mixture of New Japan and Impact fans, because like the Impact stars were getting huge reactions too. So she comes in there, and I thought she had the biggest reaction out of anybody. She rivaled Tanahashi that night. It was like she looked like an absolute mega star. I was like, if I'm an American promoter, I don't let that woman leave the building until I got some paper on her.
Grateful they let her leave the building. But yeah, they should. I mean, she did have the biggest reaction on that show because I watched that full thing. And I think there's just an excitement for any time Stardom talent comes over because it doesn't happen a lot, especially the top talent. Julia is the top talent. So
they got pay-per-views every goddamn week, so it's hard to bring them over here. Boy, sure like, yeah, you'd have to really rob a bank to be able to afford their product. But hey, Scott, I'm not going to let you go. You're going to be in on this, okay? We are going to debut a new segment here called Bad Tweets. And first up is from a guy named Will Cooling. And I've never met this gentleman. He once in the Fight Game Media Discord called me a journalist, so we have heat over that. But because I am never going to be a damn journalist. Ugh, that's like a hate speech to me. But this is what Will Cooling said in response to a Trevor Dame tweet. Trevor Dame of Voices of Wrestling Network. Trevor says on Observer Radio, Brian says Mox didn't get hurt on either the two end of the match Phoenix drivers. He got rocked from the Phoenix dive early as the match went on. And as he started to not feel good and called the audible himself to have Phoenix beat him. And then Willock says, I know we're not meant to criticize St. John and all that, but isn't this insane? Why is he rebooking the international title on the fly in response to a concussion? What happened to Orange Cassidy getting his win back on Moxley's defense as being a cornerstone of the TV? JD, go ahead and have at it here. Let me tell me what you think about this tweet from one Will Cooling.
This is idiotic. So what this is what frustrates me is, first of all, this whole St. John thing. We're not allowed to criticize St. John. Is he going to be one of these Cornette guys that's going to get on Moxley's physique? Because Moxley's the only dude in wrestling who's actually like physically looks like a fighter, right? Yeah. Like Moxley's body, like he looks like a dude who's in the UFC. Like if you actually watch like real people fight, not people just pretend to fight. Like that's what a dude looks like. And this whole thing is like, first of all, what did this idea of like this dude just phantom booked this in his own head? Like Orange Cassidy getting his win back. Like Orange Cassidy's tagging with Hook and Chris fucking Statlander. We're building nothing toward that. Like, and this dude was, I'm sorry that he got a concussion and was worried about the company and his future. Adam Cole was out for 9 fucking months with a concussion. Yeah. Like, you don't want to mess around with that thing. Now, personally, I don't think they should have ended the match with 2 pile drivers. That was risky.
Not helpful to the concussion.
not the best way to end that match. Like, Mox was we had to go home, and Phoenix like, oh, okay, I'll drop you on your head twice. I'm like, oh, that's questionable. A questionable decision at best. But how can you be this fucking stupid? Like it's the exact same thing that happened with Mercedes and Willow. Right? Yeah, Mercedes is like, she's like, I'm going to be hurt. This is bad. I have to get the belt off of me. Right? Mm-hmm. When in the history of pro wrestling, people are selfish as fuck. Right? They put the title on one of the best workers in the company. They put this international belt, which is now the workhorse belt. They put it on Ray freaking Phoenix.
Yeah.
Like one of the most popular guys in the company.
One of the most popular guys in the company, one of the best workers in the company. Like, I'm sure they can pivot to something. And Moxley's got a concussion. Hopefully it's not that bad, but you don't know. You don't know. Yeah. When you have a traumatic brain injury, a BTI, if we want to get specific, or TBI, excuse me, BTI was Impact stuff. You want to be careful with this stuff. So you know what? Best idea possible. Get the belt off him. Let's stay safe. Will Cooling can have more terrible UK tweets.
Yeah. Scott, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I don't even know if you know this guy. I personally just don't know the guy. So I've never really, other than one interaction I've never had with him. But I mean, is this like a grand conspiracy of John Moxley to screw over the legacy of one Orange Cassidy to get a boo-boo on his head and just put the belt on Phoenix of all people? Like what is this tweet even?
I stopped at St. John. Like I didn't even get to the rest of it when you were reading that. I was like, "What? Where did this like? How? Like, is that something that a lot of people say? Have we been called? Oh, okay, all right,
no,
cool. No. I'm gonna call him Old St. John for now on because it makes so much sense. Yeah, I mean, when was Orange Cassidy getting his win back? I never thought for a second Orange Cassidy was getting his win back. To me, Orange Cassidy lost, and that was it. That he had his world title run.
Yeah.
We move on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like and being a cornerstone of television, yeah, he can do that when he comes back.
He's been
That's how wrestling works.
Yeah, he's been a TV cornerstone of this promotion for 4 years. Come on, man. That's a terrible tweet. Terrible. I love this new segment, by the way, Mike. Genius.
So
There's a lot of them.
if you're listening to this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and you see a terrible tweet, tag JD and I in it, and I'll add it to my bookmarks, and we'll have more terrible tweets. I just thought of this one today when I saw this specific terrible tweet being shared around. So I was like, you know what? We need to talk about this. And there's so many terrible tweets. This could be a weekly bit that we do at the end of the show as we start to approach the 1 hour mark. So before we go, we are going to be heading over to Patreon. Go to patreon.com/the Mike and JD show, where JD and I are going to do overtime, where there's more Vince news. Axios today broke a Vince story about him possibly leaving WWE soon. And JD and I will be discussing whether or not ROH is in fact dead. Stay tuned for that. Scott E. Wrestling, Scott Edwards, my man, Joshi Expert. Thank you for being here. Please, why don't you plug patreon.com/thefightgamemedia. Tell us what you got coming up on the 5-Star Joshi Show and what Gigi and the boys got coming up.
Yeah, well, you already beat me to it. You nailed the link. I don't think I've ever said the link on my show, by the way. Never in my life.
I'm the professional at that. That's why Gigi loved my ass.
I applaud you. But yeah, it's the end of the 5-Star Grand Prix, which is the biggest women's professional wrestling tournament in the world. It's the G1 of Stardom, if that rings a bell. So I'll be having a lot of coverage on that. I'll be going live sometime next weekend to review the final. There's been a lot of injuries in it, so it's a mess, but that's what I'm here for, to explain it to all of you. I always recommend, if you want to check out Stardom, the 5-Star Grand Prix final, that's the best show to jump in. You just get a lot of great wrestling up and down the card. And yeah, the Fight Game Media Patreon, busy as ever. There's a lot of shows on there that you guys, all the shows.
We got Power Bombshells. We got the New Japan show with Jeremy Finestone. We got the Dynamite show with Paul Fontaine and Jeff Hawkins. We got In the Clinch with Paul Fontaine and Ryan Frederick. I have the plug memorized because I used to do it every week on my show. So
yeah, that's impressive.
If you can't remember it, I got you, buddy. We'll go ahead and plug our friends over at Fight Game Media.
Thank you. I will plug my reviews on voiceofwrestling.com. I review Stardom.
Yes, sir.
Shows, and I preview every Stardom show. So yeah, go check those out. This is the network to do it. So that's about it. Yeah. I'm probably gonna have an interview somewhere down the line with some people, but I can never tell you. The amount of times I get yes and then it just doesn't happen. It's an unfortunate amount. But it's okay because when they happen, it's great.
Tell me wrestlers lie. Get out of here.
It's sometimes
a friend of mine. We do have to go, but a friend of mine just got stood up by Sammy Callahan recently, and he was so pissed. It's like, if Sammy fucking Callahan stands you up, man, it's like, man, you've really hit the depths of despair in pro wrestling media if you get ditched by Sammy Callahan. So
I got ditched by Court Bauer once, man. I think that might be worse.
Yeah. But hey guys, that is going to do it for us this week. So head on over to patreon.com/the Mike and JD show. Catch us over on Patreon. Head over to our YouTube channel. It's the YouTube, the Mike and JD show. We're going to have tons of clips. We're going to have BFI clips coming up, exclusive content, all kinds of stuff coming up. And until next time, mahalo.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A-game. Make no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This isn't A-game, better bring your A-game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A-game. Make no rain from the track when we...
Hola, my name is Ricardo. I am the host of the Lucha Jovers podcast here in the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. We are a Spanish-speaking show dedicated to discussing and analyzing pro wrestling from all across the world. From AEW to CMLL, we talk about American wrestling, Japanese wrestling, and of course, Lucha Libre. If something big happened in the pro wrestling world, we will talk about it. So if you know Spanish or have a friend that knows Spanish or want to practice your Lucha Libre pronunciations, go listen to the Lucha Jovers podcast right here in the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. Nos vemos por ahí.
Hello there, everybody. It's me, Garrett Kidney, the co-host of You've Got to Be Kidding Me on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network.
And I am Liam Jones, my full name, and I'm also a part of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network as a co-host for You've Got to Be Kidding Me.
We are a TNA history podcast that covers TNA 1 month at a time. We cover all the drama, all the matches, all the Vince Russo nonsense you could ever want in your life.
Have you heard of TNA? I bet you have, but would it be funnier if two people made jokes over it the whole time? Probably.
So if that sounds like fun to you, check it out on this very Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network, and Liam will do bits and whatnot.